The Mediterranean wind swept through the narrow streets of Oran as the city struggled to find its footing in a new era. Independence had brought hope, but it had also brought uncertainty. Government institutions were being rebuilt. Communities were adjusting to enormous changes. Amid this atmosphere of transformation, few people noticed when the first young woman disappeared. At first, her absence seemed ordinary. Friends assumed she had traveled. Relatives believed she was staying elsewhere. But when her body was eventually discovered, the tragedy sent a shockwave through her neighborhood. The details were disturbing. Police worked quickly, but the investigation produced few answers. Witnesses were scarce. Physical evidence was limited. The killer, if there was one, had left almost nothing behind. The case remained unsolved. Then another woman died. This time, people paid attention. The similarities between the two deaths sparked concern among investigators and ordinary citizens alike. Conversations filled cafes, markets, and bus stations. Could the same person be responsible? Nobody knew. Weeks later, rumors spread that another victim had been found. Whether every report was accurate became difficult to determine. Stories grew larger each time they were retold. Some residents claimed there were many victims. Others insisted there were only a few confirmed cases. Fear has a way of filling gaps in knowledge. Soon, people were locking their doors earlier than before. Women avoided walking alone after sunset. Taxi drivers reported passengers requesting longer, safer routes home. Parents waited nervously by the windows for their daughters returning from work. The city was changing. As panic grew, newspapers became increasingly sensational. Headlines described a mysterious predator stalking Oran's streets. Journalists searched for comparisons and eventually found one that captured public imagination. They called the unknown killer Algeria's Jack the Ripper. The nickname spread rapidly. It transformed a series of unsolved crimes into something far larger, a legend. Every suspicious stranger became a possible suspect. Every unexplained disappearance generated fresh speculation. Every shadow seemed dangerous. Police found themselves under tremendous pressure. Citizens demanded arrests. Officials demanded results. Yet investigators were working in an era when criminal investigations depended heavily on witness testimony and physical clues. Modern forensic techniques were decades away. There were no DNA databases, no mobile phone records, no security cameras or watching street corners. If a killer were careful, he could disappear into the city without leaving a trace. Several theories emerged. One theory suggested the murderer was a resident who knew the neighborhoods well enough to avoid detection. Another proposed that the killer traveled through the city and blended into crowds before striking. Some believed the suspect worked at night, giving him opportunities to move unnoticed through deserted streets. Others thought the murders might not have been connected at all. Perhaps different criminals had committed different crimes. Perhaps frightened citizens and sensational headlines had linked unrelated cases together. The uncertainty only deepened the mystery. Months passed. Investigators followed leads that led nowhere. Witnesses changed their stories. Potential suspects were questioned and released. No breakthrough came. As years passed, public attention slowly faded. New events captured the nation's focus. The headlines disappeared. The investigations grew cold. Files were archived. Evidence aged. Witness memories weakened. The mystery that had once terrified an entire city gradually became part of local folklore. Yet for the families of the victims, the story never ended. Every unanswered question remained open. Every missing detail became a source of pain. Every anniversary revived memories they wished they could finally put to rest. Decades later, researchers and crime historians began revisiting the case. They searched through old newspaper articles. They examined surviving police reports. They interviewed elderly residents who still remembered the atmosphere of fear that had gripped Oran during those years. What they discovered was frustrating. The historical record was incomplete. Facts mixed with rumors. Confirmed information blended with legend. Separating truth from exaggeration proved almost impossible. Some researchers concluded that a serial killer probably existed. Others argued there was never enough evidence to support that claim. The debate continues to this day. What remains undeniable is the impact the case had on Oran. For a time, an entire city lived under the shadow of an invisible threat. People looked over their shoulders as they walked home. Families worried whenever loved ones were late. Ordinary routines became acts of caution. And somewhere amid the confusion, fear, and uncertainty, the truth vanished. Perhaps the killer died without ever being identified. Perhaps he left Algeria and disappeared forever. Perhaps the answer still exists in forgotten archives, waiting to be discovered. No one knows. What began as a series of mysterious deaths became one of the most haunting criminal legends in Algerian history. A mystery with no confession, no conviction, no closure, only silence. And as the sun sets over the Mediterranean waters beside Oran, the question that haunted the city more than half a century ago remains unanswered. Was there truly an Algerian Jack the Ripper stalking the streets of Oran? Or was the monster created by fear itself?